On January 2nd, the Virginia Gazette reported the marriage. Thomas Jefferson, Esquire, one of the representatives from Albemarle, to Mrs. Martha Skelton, relict of Mr. Bathurst Skelton. The Skelton connection was not something Jefferson thought much about. Captivated by visions of a new life together, he had unconsciously edited Patty's first husband out of the picture in his preparations for the wedding. In his bond for a marriage license, dated December 30th, 1771, Jefferson mistakenly referred to her as a spinster. On the document, another hand crossed it out and inserted widow. Her widowhood is more than an incidental detail. Though younger, Patty already knew more of marriage and its consolations and demands than Jefferson did, a fact that may have given her more confidence in herself as she embarked on a new life. In the depths of the first weeks of the snowy winter of 1772, Jefferson was a satisfied man. Given his wife's numerous pregnancies in the following years, there was no shortage of physical passion between them. Their first child, Martha, nicknamed Patsy, was born at 1 o'clock in the morning of Sunday, September 27, 1772, 9 months and 26 days after the marriage at the forest. After their wedding, the Jeffersons remained at the forest for some days before setting out for Monticello through the ever-worsening snowy weather. As they approached Shadwell and Monticello, the snow had grown too deep for their phaeton to continue. He and Patty then got on horseback and pressed on through the forests and the wind and the snow and the ice, and, as the shadows lengthened, through the gathering darkness. At sunset, they began their ascent, slowly and miserably taking the mountain's 867 feet. The trees along the path up to Monticello were likely weighed down by ice and snow. The Jeffersons may have had to pass through thickets of frozen branches hanging low across the trail. When they arrived, they found themselves on a lonely mountaintop, cold and unexpected. The fires were out and the slaves were elsewhere. The horrible dreariness of such a house at the end of such a journey I have often heard both relate, said their daughter, Patsy. The Jeffersons discovered part of a bottle of wine, and the night was, according to tradition, lit up with song, merriment, and laughter. After a week or so, they moved on to Elk Hill, a plantation in Goochland County along the James River and Bird Creek. Elk Hill belonged to Patty. She had lived there with her first husband, and the Jeffersons made much use of the house and the land. At its peak, Elk Hill was 669 acres. A subject of particular interest in their private hours was James Macpherson's popular translation of the poetry of Ossian, said to be a 3rd century legendary Celtic bard. He was not. The poems were, in fact, written largely by Macpherson and passed off as ancient verse. The tender and the sublime emotions of the mind were never before so